Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Telegram Football Insiders. I'm Ethan Joyce, joined by Patrick Mason, and we are excited about this week. This is the day that we have circled for most of the season. We have Rocky Mount going to Southern Nash. Now, before all the games have been postponed and everything, this was going to be one of the final games of the season. It was basically going to determine the Big East Conference crown. Now it's basically just whoever wins this one has probably the clearest path to get there. You know, Patrick was hanging out at both camps this week. Patrick, what are you seeing from Rocky Mount and Southern Nash, and what are you feeling like toward this game?
Yeah, so like you said, I hit both practices this week. For Rocky Mount, I mean, they're really expecting a physical game. That Southern Nash defense has been great all year. I think they have 2 shutouts this season. 16 points is the most they've allowed. Mm-hmm. So Rocky Mount's really expecting a physical game, but also I think they feel like they can, play with them. I mean, they're 7-1 here. They have some pedigree too. I think they're ready to play. For Southern Nash, they were talking about just really holding on to that football and just using their offense to get going and making sure that defense can, just put them in good positions basically.
We're not going to make predictions here. We do that in the paper every Friday, but these are 2 of the top teams in 3A. And it's going to be a wonderful game to watch. I would suggest if you have no team that you're tied to, I would make my way to Bailey on Friday. To look at some of the other high schools in Nash County, Nash Central and Northern Nash played a very hard-fought game last week. Nash Central coming out on top 22-16. They're hosting the 2 Wilson schools in the Big East. Nash Central's actually going to Fike, and Hunt is coming to Nash Central. Patrick, you got to see that game last week. What's something that maybe both of them can work on to do better in this game coming up?
Well, I really think maybe the key for Northern Nash is to just kind of finish some drives in the second half. They played a really good game, just maybe clean up the penalties a little bit and just convert on third down and just get that ball moving. I think they'll be just fine. Quarterback play as well. It'll be interesting to see what they get out of that position. And I think they should be fine. For Nash Central, just really hope that defense continues that solid play. I mean, they're really that's their strong suit, and if they can kind of just keep that clock moving with that run game, and the defense will take over, and they should be all set.
Central definitely has the leg up to get that third place spot for conference play and get that last playoff spot. So it's going to be interesting to see how both of those teams play, because as long as Central doesn't slip up, it's going to be a playoff berth for them, and that would be pretty crazy for this program because that wasn't expected for them this year.
Right.
To look at some Edgecombe County schools, they all won last week. Tarboro continues its Two Rivers dominance, and North Edgecombe continues to play well. Those 2 are going to meet up later in the season, and we're going to have another probably conference deciding game between 2 of our coverage area teams. Southwest Edgecombe, they had a game deciding drive. I think they scored with maybe like 50 seconds left or a minute. And they're now 2-0 in conference. They were the preseason favorite, and I mean it seems like they're really clicking now because it was never a question for Southwest if their defense was going to be good. It was just the offense and how they were going to produce points to show that. So it's going to be a good week of football.
They seem to figure that out.
Yeah, they've definitely got it figured out. So RMA is going to Southampton County. Southampton is the team that beat them by about 50 points a couple weeks ago. We were talking about that in the office. It's really hard to overcome a 50-point deficit,
right?
Especially when they're going away now. So those are still 2 of the best teams in 8-man football, but hopefully we see a better showing out of RMA and maybe, boost the confidence a little bit from that first loss.
Yeah, there's no lack of motivation there to come out and
definitely. But that's all we have for you here. As always, I'm Ethan Joyce. This is Patrick Mason. Follow us on Twitter. We'll be covering games all night Friday. And see you later.
We got you covered.